time. We're going to go ahead and get the meeting started. It's now 6 o'clock. Start a regular city council work session. Should we do a roll call now, Royce? Or do we want to wait till the regular?
For the regular.
Okay. Sounds like we're with that in mind, I'm going to turn things over to Shay. He's going to present on most of the items in our work session. So.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is the Elkridge Meadows Phase 10. This final plat, and with this final plat, if this is approved, it completes the Elkridge Meadows subdivision. And so, also as we were reviewing this plat as staff, we were also asking the questions, okay, where are we at with landscaping? Looking back at the development agreement, making sure that the various items on the development agreement have all been fulfilled. And they're moving along on the landscaping right now. The landscaping actually in the development agreement was tied to the very last phase, which was going to be phase 11, but they've merged the two together. So that's underway right now. And everything else is pretty much wrapped up, or there's a few items there that are in process. As far as this final plat itself, went through TRC. We had some minor changes with it. Planning Commission, it literally showed up in my office as I was walking out the door to Planning Commission, and so that review occurred at the Planning Commission meeting. We had a water service detail that was incorrect in it, and the cross section for the street that was incorrect in it. I talked to the engineer yesterday. He told me he was going to have them to me today, and I just noticed, I opened up my emails. When I left the office, they hadn't come, and they're in my email right now. So, so the plans that you have don't show that 56-foot wide street cross section on this page 2, nor do they have the correct water service detail on. And he's made those changes. I'll look at those certainly before next time, before we allow it to be put on the agenda for actual decision. We'll make sure that those things have been addressed and corrected. And other than that, the drawings for this comply with our city standards and specifications. So if there's any questions on this one.
You know, one of the things that I've been concerned with as we've gone through this process, I mean, this development's changed hands a couple of times. The development agreement, I mean, I know what was in it because I was involved somewhat in that process, but I think as part of granting the final, I think it'd be good and a benefit for the rest of the council to see what was in that development agreement, so that when they give the stamp of approval, they know what they're signing off on. That way they're not entering into it blindly. I think that'd be good for them, and I think it'd be good just as part of the process. Just make sure that's in there.
Yeah, and that goes to one of my questions of what still needs to be accomplished in the development agreement.
Okay, so the there's a lot of different items in the development agreement, and then we have a few amendments to the development agreement. Mainly the one that applies the most to this, realizing the original development agreement was looking at Elkridge Meadows Phase 1, Phase 2. Part of that development agreement applies to the Horizon View Farms subdivision, and so after Dieniger purchased this land and took over this portion of it. There's been amendments to that development agreement that
No,
apply specifically to this, but.
I was
so
gonna say, I
anyway.
know, and it's, I mean, it's a little bit complicated,
Yeah.
there's lots of amendments, it's like a 50-page document, you know, I mean, I know what we're, but that's why I was wondering exactly what,
So,
from your
so,
point of view, is
yeah, so
outstanding.
where we're at right now is the landscaping needs to be wrapped up.
Okay.
We still have the monument listed in the development agreement, which was tied as part of the roundabout. I think there's been discussion on that, and
We got
we know,
location there.
we know what's going on with that, and that's gonna occur
Well,
with
that,
the
we'd
landscaping.
like to know what's going on with that. I would like to know what's going on with that, you know.
Okay.
It looks like the roundabout is completed, right? I think we should have had an apron on that upper end, and I think we're working on, having to pay for that ourselves there, but that was obvious, that, the big tractor trailer rigs, the buses, everybody, you've got two big aprons on the north side. You got nothing on the south side except a curb. You know, I've been off of that curb in the wintertime, we're gonna put an apron in there. Then the landscaping, you know, I think is going good. I like the fact that Olson's doing it, but I heard some discussion about maybe not completing the trail on down, and that's something that whether we discuss it now or we discuss it when trails are there, you have my input on that is you've got three proposed trails that will be coming into that same corner. The county has 11,200 that they're doing part of that across. You know, part of it's Dean's, part of it's Hanson's, part of it's Salisbury. You have the regional trail, which is going to follow the canal, and the county indicated when I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, he said, actually, we have it proposed in 2 years. It's on a 2-year plan right now. We're going to try to move it up to rebuild Elk Ridge Drive from down at the highway up, and part of that has a proposed trail to it.
Okay.
And my thinking, you know, there was some discussion about, and I think it's fine and it's a good idea to put the crossing, you know, the pedestrian crossing there at the where it's just the cul-de-sac on the other side.
Yeah.
But I don't think you end the trail there. You know, the trail needs to come down, swing around, and be ready to tie in. That any of those trails will have to come up that west side. And part of that is a sign being, you know, the sign placement, the finish of the landscape. That is an area where I don't think there's much grass going on that section as far as I could see, but there's probably a number of trees in there. That's where you could have some nice benches, or you could have some nice things like that. If we don't want to swing it around and connect it to the sidewalk, you know, going to the park, then maybe you don't connect it there. You just you bring it down though and swing it around to, I think we ought to swing that trail around and have it, even if part of it's gravelled right now or has the base in, for connecting with the other trails as
Bill, are
they
you
come
saying
up.
swing it around to the west side of Elk Ridge
Yeah.
Drive, so it's ready for the connection? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And-
we're gonna move on here, Dale, because there's a
Okay,
little bit of
I'll
a
just-
discussion about trails, and we can have it at that point in time.
well,
I would
also
encourage
it's
you to
phase
be
10.
involved with the
It's also
TRC.
phase 10, you know, there's
Sure.
nothing that's been shown at this point as far as how it's being landscaped or anything. That whole entry area right there.
Well, that's not part of this
That's
piece.
phase 10.
No,
Part of phase 8?
that's a different phase.
Or phase
Phase 10 was
10's
completing the
well,
whole
we're-
thing, wasn't it?
We're trying to
We're tying up a
This
lot of
will be-
the loose ends, but that's in
Yeah,
a different
completely
phase, not.
It was 10.
It'll be connected to this one. though.
It's connected to 10.
And
We
Brad,
needs to
decided
be
that
wrapped up.
everything would be finished, instead of being at 8 or
Right.
something, we would do it at 10.
We're gonna cover that when we get to the trail piece.
Well, that's,
As part of the discussion.
trails is a little different, that's just one piece of that
Yes.
landscaping.
Well, so that's why I think Dell just, I mean, even though that part is in phase 6, this is all stuff that's part of the
Right,
development
yeah.
agreement
But
that
he
Dell
won't go
wants to
into
make
final,
sure
he won't
is
go into
Needs to be
final.
covered
wrapped
up before phase
and
10 is
enter
granted.
into his bonding period until all the boxes are marked. And I think Dean understands
Everything's
that,
followed
so
through.
let's,
Well, and I think Dale's just trying to make sure that, you know what I mean? It's all in.
No, this
That's part of it,
is
because
good.
I had a discussion
I am
about
curious
not
while,
doing
while
anything
you've got
further.
this on my mind. Has the county said that their trail up Elkridge Drive is going to be on the west side? Because back when
They said-
when we were looking at that TIP funding,
Yeah,
it wasn't on the
there
west.
was,
they
there was
said the
no,
expand, the
they wanted
property
us
they were looking to
actually
buy
on
was
this,
west
on the
side.
other side, so they were happy with what we had as far as going up the east side and then going across to the west
Is that
side.
looking at
That
the
was back
the
a couple of years
houses
ago
and-
now, realized, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen any final drawings or anything like that, but he
Okay.
indicated
I was just
they were looking at
curious.
my property more on the west side, widening it to the west side.
Okay, I was just curious, because that's,
Well, I've heard from property owners on both sides, and the county's been talking to both sides. So
well, they have to,
I don't
they've got to
think-
purchase
right.
property both,
Yeah,
But
both sides to be.
they haven't decided which side they're gonna take the most from. And it's gonna come down to negotiation.
I just wanna make sure that it gets,
So,
you know, it's finished off right, you know, and
Well,
I
that's why
guess
we're,
it's-
that's why we're having the discussion.
And it's
so.
been, it's great so far, like what we're seeing there so far, except no trees in the, on the west side, but,
On the west side.
Are you
On
talking
the
about
west
like the
side.
trail?
Or the
You talk about the east side. where the
east
school
side,
talking
is.
about the
where the
school.
school.
no, on the west side, you know what, the last I heard is that they're not gonna put any trees on the west side.
West side of the tree.
You know, and I think McKay kinda wanted that or something, but I
Is that
think
just
even if they
in
did it
the
in
grass?
I think if,
In the grass
even if
area.
they did it
Okay.
in the rock section, are they gonna still do a 5-foot strip down the, between the property owners and the grass?
I think they was talked about doing like a 3-foot strip of, just
Oh,
to give you
just
some
gravel.
separation, yeah.
Yeah,
Then
You
you
know,
need
you
to worry
might
about undermining people's fences and stuff, but
yeah. You might even plant in that area, you know, but it would be good to have something there.
I'd have to
But there's-
defer to McKay on that, because the original plans,
Yeah.
you know, obviously have changed there, and that's been a
Yeah,
Yeah,
back and forth.
yeah, that was discussed to try and keep the kids further away from the road, make it
Yeah.
easier to mow.
Yeah.
So,
okay, well, we know that it's coming, that's
Yeah,
down the road
so-
then, before this is a final
So we need to,
finalized or something.
yeah, we need to look at discuss those issues.
Yeah. So we have
As
landscaping
far as
trail,
the-
what
yeah.
else? I was
So
gonna
as far as
say.
the development agreement, the other item that, and part of this again, will come in with this final approval was, remember we had these payments in lieu of for the
Yeah.
park, and those, the bulk of those payments were tied to the last two phases, and so those will be paid as part of that. The other side of this actually is the interaction between Horizon View Farms and then this Elk Ridge Meadows development here. Horizon View Farms was to pay for $150,000 of the roundabout and the monument. Of course, theirs is based on the building permits, and that's slowly been gathered up. I'm assuming that-
For Elms right now. He's hard up, I don't know.
I'm assuming the city's made payments on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one's moving forward, and of course, we'll track that and see where that's at and make sure that we adjust that. But as far as I know, having, you know, reading through it, those are the items that I'm aware of.
my biggest concern isn't with the Elk Ridge Meadows phases, it's the other Horizon View Farms, and making sure that we don't miss an opportunity to make sure we get everything that we have coming before we give them the final, and we part ways. So,
I noticed they started redoing the rock, they didn't do the rock all the way up, so, because they planted like hydro seed on a slope that's unknowable, is that why they started doing the rock, are they gonna continue that on, do you know?
I don't know.
I didn't see that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
Between the trail
That'd
and
be
the road,
phase two,
Sure.
yeah.
Oh,
so it's
Oh.
real steep, and they first hydro seeded it, which didn't really work, but then they started rocking part of it.
I wonder
Well, they're
if
gonna
the
need
counties
that.
come back
It's
and,
not mowable.
To
so-
reseed
Yeah,
that
it's-
one
it's
area
way too
that they
steep.
planted first, you know, that basically died
Looked
out.
like they just sprayed it again
Yeah.
down there, but.
Did they? Okay,
Okay.
let's see if it,
We'll have to look at
tapes
that.
this
The
time.
county may have come in and
Yeah.
given them some new direction on that too.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
okay.
let's hear about Harrison Heights
Okay.
phases 10 and 11.
So Harrison Heights phases 10 and 11 are actually both on the same application. Phase 10 is 5 lots that are located there between Burke Lane and Chrisley Lane, right up against Goose Nest. So and Dean's not gonna have anywhere to park his trailer. It just-
I know.
It's really bad for him.
Going to Dale's house. Parking at Dale's house.
So,
Lots of room.
So this phase, pretty much most of the services had already been stubbed in as part of previous development. It's just more than anything, just platting these lots, finishing off there are a few services that have to be stubbed in on Burke Lane, but other than that.
So is this west of,
This is across the street from my backyard.
from your, okay, that's from your backyard. Okay.
So they'll be looking into your house.
Yeah.
Have those lots sold yet?
There's some nice, nice.
So-
down there.
So I don't know if there's any questions with this one. There,
Are there any exceptions?
no.
I said,
And the water rights, we're good there because you've got water rights we've been allocated from.
I did get your email, yeah, we'll talk about that and figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah, the only thing, and Shane and I talked about this earlier, is in phase 11. And that's the Meadowlark Circle and Meadowlark Lane on the same
Oh,
road.
changing.
Just making it all Meadowlark Lane. That's really the only thing that.
yeah, so it's not confusing.
Oh, well, it's good.
So this phase,
And that was my only takeaway from over here.
Don't you want to live on Street 3? I like that.
Street 3.
675 South, Street 3. Upgrade to that.
I'd rather have that than Wolverine Creek. Just saying.
We know you're Wolverine at heart.
I'm not a Wolverine.
so yeah, this here again, these meet the city's construction standards and specifications, and no exceptions with this. It's just pretty straightforward. This was another one that the water meter detail was incorrect, and they emailed that to me now, so that we'll get a different set of plans.
Just decide if you wanted that. I know Jared talked about the Meadowlark Lane just being Meadowlark Lane, right? Is that?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it just
that
carries
was-
through
that
with
was the one
Meadowlark
that
Lane.
that was the only thing that jumped off the paper to me and said, we gotta fix this.
So,
And I assume you have another name for Street 3? Or is it really going to be called Street 3?
Where's Street 3?
It's below or above Meadowlark.
It might be like Trisha Lane or.
it's the next phase.
Oh, yeah.
Uncle Lane.
But, is it named yet from the other plat?
No, I don't think so. On the preliminary
Thomas
plat, they
Lane?
were all street 1, 2, 3, 4.
I was going to say, it's not
So-
named on this new plat though.
Yeah.
It's still
I don't know,
Street
come up.
3.
Now,
Thomas Lane sounds.
now, I thought there
nice
was
to
some
it.
discussion with the planning
Find out,
commission
right?
before about
Double.
having an entry and exit to any development area, that,
Yeah.
rather than creating, So
There's
you
plenty,
come
because
in
you
one-
you can exit out here, you
Okay.
come around this way and go down.
Just-
There's quite a
The
few.
cul-de-sacs is just to the one end,
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Yeah, because we've done, you've got that extra stuff.
Cottontail Lane, where the school's on that lane, you know, they would prefer as few entrances onto that street, with the school being right there in the future, as possible, just to minimize the confusion up there. So there is one that ties in coming across.
Okay. For snow plowing, the less cul-de-sacs, the better though.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we reduced some from what was originally, when we went through the preliminary plat with this, originally there were several cul-de-sacs in here, and we had to remove those, so.
So that street's already named actually, it's Whitney Way.
Oh,
I guess it's after my wife's Down syndrome little sister, it sounds like.
Well, we're not gonna take that away now.
Well, you got to talk to his wife if you want.
Thomas is,
Street.
sorry, she's more special than Thomas.
I've met her before.
That's, I think that's all we've got on those two items. The next one, the Loafer Recreation Association, they took the time to assign addresses to the various lots and cabins within the association. And they just would like us to officially approve this or adopt it, as I understand it.
That's what I'm told, for some reason,
Yes.
it's highly important to them that they're.
Yes.
So with that.
And I don't know that it's, I have no problem with that.
I think county
They're
requires
changing it from
that.
county
Well,
to
no, the
city.
county has legal descriptions of the property. And
Yeah, but they
that's all
require an address on anything they're
Not
responding
on
to
something
something.
like, no, not on something like this. You see how there's the numbers with the, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Okay.
That's all the county requires in a development of this nature. So, but we're gonna go ahead and do this, I think, or at least that would be my recommendation. They'll submit it to the county and the county can record it that way. They just, basically, I think they would prefer that we give them their blessing to this so that when they take it to the county goes, who are you and why?
No, I think it's a good idea personally, if you have to respond to.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
To a GPS address, lot one, an address is a lot easier than a lot address.
I know that we've had a number of medical and fire calls up in there over the years, and we've never had any trouble. It's more of a, I think it's so that they can tell people who are coming to visit,
Where
they can type it into their Google
They
GPS
can-
system
yeah.
and they can show up. If they
Yeah.
give them a key and they don't know which cabin's there, so they're not out there trying a half dozen cabins, trying
Yeah.
the doors to see which one's open, so. Right now, it's just a discussion item, so I think we'd put it on a regular agenda for next meeting to take action on that. The next item is Dave Priest Property Development Concept. I believe this is in the county still, right?
Yes, so just these parcels, I was, from what I saw there, I'm slightly confused, but not really. We received two drawings. One was for the triangular piece of property, but there wasn't a conceptual
Right,
layout
we're-
for that, and the other one is for the
We
four
don't have that one
rectangular
yet, we're
parcels.
still negotiating with
Okay,
the property
So-
owner, so, but both should be annexed in together, we think. The city would probably agree with that.
So, my question to you, Shay, would be this. Typically, the county doesn't like to have an island. And if we annex the property on the north side of 112 South, and we've got that section, the smart property that's currently in the county, it would be surrounded by Elk Ridge.
so it's
Because
tied
we
across.
own the road.
Yeah, it's tied across the street to still to county property.
Okay.
But
And
across
so,
the fireplace.
The county will be okay with that,
This-
especially where we do own and maintain the roads. Their concern with an island is that they have to provide services to an isolated area like they have up in Lower Canyon, some of those areas.
Okay.
This is just, we have, that's at the top end of Canyon View Drive or something, is this?
No,
No,
this is down by the canal.
This is located on the north side of 11200.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically, so it's that triangle, if you go from Elk Ridge Drive, it's the triangle all the way over to Elk Ridge Meadows Phase 1.
That's what I was gonna say, there weren't any
on the
street,
south side.
street names on the map, so I,
Oh,
Yeah,
that one.
and
So it's on the south side of 11200.
Yeah.
So this is the south.
no, south side, north side of
North side,
11.
sorry, north
North
side.
Canal,
But
right?
there's
Yeah.
no street, so it's hard to tell
Okay, so-
where this was at.
This isn't.
So,
So you take this. And that.
It doesn't go clear over
I know where
to
this is.
Silver Homes.
Yeah,
It
he's right
does.
here.
This is
Okay,
the
so
piece.
so it'd be from
This
Elbridge
map
Drive
doesn't
over
have
to
it
South
all.
Elbridge.
That's,
She's
yes,
just talking about
Okay.
just
what's,
Yes.
what's shown there. So,
Well, he is.
Mr. Priest came in and visited on a consultation with me about this, about just trying to understand what the code was and what the possibilities were. I'm seeing this the first time tonight, as you are, so I'm going to let them make their presentation. Just to let you know, in the future land use map, we have this shown as RNL 20,000 is what it would be zoned in the future coming in. But of course, where it's in the county right now, that's, they're asking for something different here. I'll let them present that to you, and the purpose for this was really for them to present this and see what your thoughts and feelings were on this before they spend a lot of money in engineering and trying to move something forward that maybe, isn't acceptable. So anyway, I'll just let
You're doing good, Shay.
Mr. Priest.
So that's why I'm letting him lead the discussion.
That's kind of our thought tonight is, I think that we're pretty confident we'll have the other piece of property tied up. There was a death in that family, and they've been gone for about 3 weeks, which has slowed us up. But we'd like to kind of keep the same size lots, quarters and thirds, throughout that whole thing all the way to Elkridge Drive. But we don't want to spend the money and the trouble annexing it and the engineering if the city's not going to be open to lots, of that size. If they want to stick with our 20, then that doesn't.
Yeah. Well, the way our code is currently written, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, unless it's developed as a PUD, that's the only way they can get the smaller lot size at this point.
Correct. So,
As long as that's in our code, it's in our code.
well, it's in our code, but this has to be annexed in.
Right,
it's
so we
open
do have a
for
negotiation.
negotiation, and as I said, future land use map shows that area, the RNL 20,000. So
It's got with
you
animal
can
rights,
work from
right?
there, correct.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we're just trying to run it up the flagpole and see what the council thinks. And
Well, I know we've talked about taking the PUD piece out of our code completely. Taking it out, not having it be part of our code at all. I know that's how I felt about it, and I think there are a couple other council members that feel that way. I may be misspeaking here, but that's kind of where I'm at, is
That's
RNL.
That's why I feel, and I think we need to
our
keep
general
with our
plan.
general plan of the 20,000.
Yeah.
With animal rights. That's just my personal opinion.
And I think, Jared, hasn't that kind of been the discussion within the plan commission as you've been looking at this area as part of the land use map?
yeah.
With the general plan rewrite?
And that was a section that we were looking at as the only real
At one point in time, that was
place,
commercial.
if any commercial was developed. That 11-200, the corner of that, and Elkridge Drive, that's either side of that is basically the only practical commercial area.
Yeah.
And,
I know we've talked about possibly, if we did make a change to the zoning, it would be probably commercial.
at least
That's
a
the way it's
portion
been when we've discussed it the last couple of times over the
there.
last
And
couple of
Mr.
years.
Priest as well, I am open to negotiations, on a little bit bigger lot sizes, but I think a 4th acre for that area is probably too small.
We just, actually, we're larger, a little bit larger than the development just to the east of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that though is are some pretty small lots.
Like I said, we're
That's
trying to see what the
self-help
council's feeling
homes.
is, and
Yeah.
then they can make a determination, do we move forward, or do we?
Yeah.
Right.
Part of the reason that you may feel like we're kind of digging our heels in here is we have a limited number of sewer connections available within our city. And if we create additional density here, then that reduces the number of connections in other parts of town that are not developed yet based on what our general plan and what we have plan forward with our capital facilities plan. So that's, I can speak for myself, that's why I would be inclined not to, but, anyways.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, you know what I mean? If there's something bigger than, you know, 4th acre lots, I may be willing to consider it, you know, something closer to the 20,000, but 4th acre and 3rd acre, I probably couldn't do that, so.
Yeah. Paul, do you have anything to add to the conversation? Okay. We've already
I was
said,
just thinking.
You want high-rise
Sewer
apartments,
connection,
didn't you, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Apartments, is that what you said you wanted?
Yeah, okay.
Then I'll have to move, because my neighbors will throw me out.
Oh, good. Apartments.
If they can get me in, we'll have it.
I was just thinking though,
Oh, tempting.
you were talking about the sewer
Might
connection,
be.
shouldn't it be whoever comes first can have those sewer connections instead of waiting for somebody
Well,
else?
But if you already have
It
land in
was-
here, then shouldn't you have more of a right than someone being annexed in?
yeah, we're talking about land that's already within the city, that's already annexed in, that's
But
part
are
of the
they,
general
are
plan.
those people planning to
Yes.
develop that land soon, or?
I think a lot of people.
Well, it's zoned to be
Shade.
developed a certain lot size, so,
Yeah,
I mean, facilities are sized.
I mean, you start messing with this, then we gotta pay Shay to redo our capital facilities plan.
But then we also had
Calculate,
Salisbury
Negotiate.
come to us and ask us to do the same thing below, and we told them no, do you remember?
Yes.
So,
That was-
in fairness to them too,
Well, they wanted those smaller lot sizes, right? And-
yes,
yeah,
they
said
wanted the
no.
same, yeah.
And put a little commercial in there, so.
Yeah. So, you know, if you were to stick your finger in there and see which way the wind's blowing, I think we'd be
Yeah.
inclined to stick with the way that our general plan reads for future annexation and development of that property.
Okay.
What we
Put a
said.
gas station
Stone.
Okay, supermarket and gas station.
in, cookie
As
bar.
part of the development, there you go.
I will be run out of town with a pitchfork and torch. Might be worth it, might be worth the sacrifice.
Okay,
I might-
next item is trails. Do you have anything on that specifically?
Thank you.
Does Dale have anything to say about this?
I'll put it along.
If he does, we'll move it to after the regular council meeting.
Actually, we are needing, and we talked a number of times about needing to revamp the master plan for trails. And I talked with Royce, and I think we're gonna get together on Thursday here before the planning commission and kind of look at that. I drove some of those, yesterday. I think that, we have a trail plan for the canyon on the west side of the road. But that is a pretty, there's a lot of people that have kind of built out to where they put in curb and gutter. I don't know what is our easement down there,
It's,
Is it a 66 or is it?
No, it's,
Is it a
it's, so.
collector?
So the new stuff that's going in is based on the 56-foot right-of-way, without all the improvements on the sides. That's what we have shown in our maps there, but, some of that stuff that was put in previously is literally all over the place. And so,
it makes it tricky when somebody comes in and wants to build a house and they want to be set back far enough, and they have to get it surveyed so that we know where our point of reference is.
That's-
And
no,
that's,
and
it really is.
in that particular situation, as you look at that, from the landowner's perspective, the frustrating part is looking at it, measuring off the road, which is what they did based on some corners that were shown over on the road, but that pavement is actually over on private property on the other side. The road right of way is still
yeah,
in front of them.
quite
but-
a bit, yeah.
So, yeah, that was, so they're all over the place down there, and that's one of the things that as things develop through there, we're just gonna have to slowly work through it one step at a time to.
Yeah, if we're gonna do that trail through there, that road's pretty narrow anyway.
It is.
And my suggestion, I remember Jan Davis said, this this, and she's been here for 20 years, this for me would be a priority, get Canyon View Drive connected down there, and then you've got two connections. You know, that would eliminate quite a bit of traffic down the canyon if we just tied in the Canyon View Drive to the bottom. And actually, that's where one of the trails, it's wide enough already. We have it up to Alexander on the west side is already completed. And then the road going north is actually wide enough to stripe a walking trail on that. And part of
Shouldn't carry it all the way
is
down
that 42 foot or something in front, and then they have, we were looking at maybe,
It's not right between Park and Bridger though, that's still pretty skinny,
No.
but then
Yeah.
it goes
But
bigger,
then once
it
you go
goes
beyond
wider
there-
from Bridger north.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
It's
they're
just that-
actually,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you've
Like-
got one block where,
we've got a section where,
that's a.
I'll bet it's on your short
Trees.
list where you wanna pave it and get it so that we can take and tie it extended.
But the rest of that down is the
it is
full
further
width.
wide.
And then there's been a controversy, the guy that has the house on the corner where the cul-de-sac is, or where the roundabout is at the end, is claiming that it's his road, or part of that would be on his property or something. Is that right, Shay?
I haven't heard that. Who's
I thought that
claim?
the
Well,
guy,
that's not Canyon View, that's the other one.
Canyon View,
It switches from Canyon View Drive to
Oh,
a different name
to a
right
different
at the
name.
end,
To
it's,
Sunset.
Sunset.
Okay.
Sunset, okay.
Yeah,
At Sunset, isn't there a guy?
but once
so-
again, we need, that should
So
be
the
Canyon
prob-
View Drive,
The problem
but,
is
you know.
part of Sunset is on private property.
Yeah.
So it
that
would need
was-
to swing to the right as
Yeah,
far as.
and that's why in the master plan, we actually, part of it was the fact that was on private property, the other part was it was just too steep to get down onto Goose Nest.
Well,
Straight down there, that's why we
You know,
actually
we've always said
changed the
that, you know, but I
transportation
think,
plan.
I
Changed
think
it,
you
had to
could
go
go
out further to the east.
and then somebody bought that property. We were thinking that maybe you could bring the road that comes over to the T there and swing it out and come down the draw would be a lot easier, but somebody bought that whole section of property, didn't they? Is my understanding.
Yeah, they've bought that, and
So
my understanding is they
where
don't
is
want to
our-
develop anything there, so.
where is our easement at? Where
I
is
guess
our
that tells us
easement
we'll
at?
have a few years to worry about that.
Where is our easement at on there?
So,
Do we have
I
any?
would have to, I don't think we
No,
have
we
any
don't
easement
have-
down on the private property at all.
There isn't,
We don't have a road easement through any of those properties?
no.
So our transportation map shows, just so I'm understanding right, going through private property, and we don't have an easement on any of those.
Well, it's basically the dead end of that road.
Yeah.
And that part of the road isn't developed to the same level as all the rest of it either, so.
But the transportation map does show it going through.
Well, we
Eventually,
changed
yes.
that,
Yeah.
we changed that so that would be a cul-de-sac up there, and then we showed it going to the east and dropping down.
So then do we have easements to the east though, through that property?
No, not right now, that's, at the time that land develops, that's the idea, is you put it on the
You
plan.
put it in
and
the
then
plan so that
develops,
when they come in and wanna develop it, we can say, this is where the road's gonna be, it's like with the,
So basically, that can never be put through unless we bought an easement there.
well, we could either buy it or we could wait until they develop it, and then at that point in time, we run the road
Yeah.
through.
There's gonna be development at some point in time over there.
Yeah, it may be way down the road.
Well, it might be, but that's.
That is, it may be something that if you were connecting, see that road, other than Elk Ridge Drive and the Canyon Road, those are the only two, entrance exits, to the city. They
Yeah.
go clear through. All of that, you would, by completing that, and, you could use, for something like that, I would think that you could use your road impact fees, couldn't you?
Well, for the trail, you'd.
No, for the road, for completing the road
Yeah,
through there.
for the road.
Yeah.
If we
If you put it
have
in-
Well,
that in the
that's where we
capital
take
facilities
it
plan.
from being a regular road to a wider road.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's written
Yeah.
into the capital
Yeah.
facility.
Well, and actually it would be matching up that road that's there, because it's a 42 foot or something like that, asphalt.
The pavement, yeah.
Pavement that goes down to it. But, okay, so this is the existing trails map that we've got right now, and it shows coming up the canyon, and it shows two areas. There's the Dugway there that is pretty tough. You know, it would have to be part of, it'd probably have to be a raised trail that is set back off. If you started, I think that anything you do there is gonna have to be terraced back rather than one straight wall.
We had talked about though, they'll give us grants as part of
Yeah.
that Dugway if we do put a trail through it though, and we had talked about doing a raised trail.
And
with the-
you could do a raised trail down, then and apparently there's been someone who has discussed wanting to develop a little at the top of the, is that still Canyon View Drive up there? And our trail map shows the trail going down and connecting to the canyon right by, just above your place.
Yeah, that goes through the Knowltons and the,
And then on further up, is that trail further up, kind of following our tank trail, our tank road? You know, the road that we put in with the line?
These trails that were further up were based off of a proposal several years ago to develop that whole area up there and fit, more so fit the development than any existing trails.
Yeah.
So, right there, that piece,
little horseshoe piece.
the road in our general plan does not go there. It actually connects over and comes down Canyon View and not Hillside.
Yeah.
And when that was changed on the road alignment, the trail, which was meant to kind of follow the road, that portion was not updated.
See, actually, then there's that trail that, on Canyon View that connects and would go clear down to 11-200. That one is wide enough all the way through there from 11-200 up to where you hit the hill to be striped there's several areas that are wide enough to stripe a trail. They just need the striping and the logos put in. That we do need to. You've got the existing trail. Actually, there's only I think now 3 sections of existing paved trail. That's the one that comes from basically the Ili Canal up through our park, and we need to complete that trail up past the school district property to make sure that connects somewhere rather than just the sidewalk. It needs to be a trail connecting to that upper street that cuts across. There's one that loops over through the Goose Nest, and then it shows it going down to hit the canal road. I don't know that we don't have anything over there.
No, we don't.
That we're really.
I don't know if Shay was gonna get to this, but basically when we were looking at this as part of, redoing the general plan, we kind of agreed that maybe a city official or somebody needs to go through mark existing. You've got a lot of these shown on opposite sides of the road from where they are. So I think somebody needs to go through, mark all the existing, okay, exactly where they are. And then I don't know if the zoning commission or with the city council or city staff, we then address the troubled areas to update the plan. I mean, that's kind of.
To try to
That's what
connect
needs to happen,
So,
really.
so really what we ought to have happen here, because I know Dell has been involved with the trails in some form or another for the better part of a decade or longer. If we could, if we got you a larger map where you could go through and mark
Yeah.
and kind of do that.
And we're starting that on Thursday, so
Okay.
we're gonna pick his brain and have him.
Yeah, because I think
We're
it would be
having
good,
meetings.
because then we could figure out where we've got these little sections. You got the little piece down there between Park and Bridger that's unpaved. If we took little pieces like that and then spent a little bit of money, but then we connected an even bigger piece.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna get the most bang for our buck when it comes to putting
And that's why, if
improvements
it's
in and
color coded, so we
prioritizing?
have what's in already, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's what
We're trying to get a new map, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it sounds like we're working on something there that I think would be good to have implemented and tied into that, because it would make sense that.
We're getting a
Mesh.
little more, with this new development going clear up to the golf course, road. You know, that one, you just go, one block, I think, further, and you're onto the existing walking trail that goes clear to Fort Bay, you know, you could connect to somewhere. You could connect
Yeah.
to Payson Canyon, you know.
But on this map, it's shown opposite side of the road from
Yeah.
where
Right,
yeah.
90% of it is, so.
Yeah,
And-
you're right, and that,
now is Stacy,
yeah,
is
Stacy
she still
Peterson-
working with you on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
She is actually real interested in trails, and she walks a lot of these trails. So she would like to have a trails committee and include a couple of property owners like Schuler's that own a large lump up above her property.
Yeah, that's,
And Dan Shaw would like, he's on the
yeah,
other side.
Dan's
of the
is,
basin.
he's over in here.
Yeah.
The Schuler's are up in here,
Yeah, they own,
so,
there's a number of different property owners there, I know.
Burton gal that's been purchasing land left and right up there, kind of consolidating it all, so.
Yeah.
It should be somebody you'd want to.
Want to
And
develop
involved there
there
as well.
eventually. But it would be good to have something planned in there. Those trails up in there are probably fine at this point, except, we were looking at them following kind of the golf course border, of Payson,
yeah.
it would be a natural.
And a lot of that's gonna be what Payson is or isn't willing to do. And I know we've had some joint meetings with Payson City and with Dan Shaw and with Elk Ridge,
Yeah.
and I know that at this stage of the game, it's probably in a holding pattern until they sort things out with eBay, or not eBay. Fort Bay.
I was gonna say,
eBay too,
Sorry.
eBay too.
Yeah, I've never spent too much time on eBay today, but anyways,
It's been a long
so,
time.
We are doing,
yeah.
we are getting a few connections. We have the inner loop is connected from the park back to the park again. The outer loop just needs striped after we complete that up to the golf course. Just needs striped across to the dirt road. Dirt could still be part of the trail. And we'll just have that section between, the mayor's house and
Hillside and
Canyon View.
Canyon View.
And you would have the outer loop, completed. So, it does have a connection there that we are looking at and have been kind of working on. But I do feel strongly about completing that trail down to Skyhawk Way where it is planned on. There was some discussion, I think, about not putting a trail down there because then people might try to cross down at Skyhawk Way. That's not a reasonable way to plan for whether you put it there or not. What I was telling when Dean was here is that needs to go on across, and maybe you don't connect it over here. We'll have the crossing, pedestrian crossing, where it ends right now. It would connect, and that's a little more visible crossing. But there's a big difference between a 4-foot sidewalk coming up and connecting over to the trail, or the trail coming on down and being in a position to connect to these other regional trails that are being planned. So I feel strongly about that. And I don't know what the landscaping plan is for in there. Brad Olson said that, I think that McKay just wanted a strip of grass coming down and in the bottom or something. It'd be interesting to just see what.
I used to have talked to McKay about that because we had an original plan for everything, but then it's been between, and I don't know how much he's discussed with council, but it's basically lately those changes have just occurred through McKay
That's what I was gonna say, the
Well, we-
monument in that area at the bottom hasn't been discussed at
Not at
all,
all.
council.
Yeah,
okay.
That hasn't been
Yeah.
before us, but I,
So-
you know, honestly, with something like that, I'd at least like to see a concept of what they're proposing before it happens, so that I don't find out.
I do
something
like
that's
the
not-
fact that he is,
I totally agree.
I mean,
Personally, I don't
because
think we'd have a set of plans for it, but.
when they started working on the trail system, I had more residents come in to my office and fly off the handle why we were spending money doing things we didn't need to, because they didn't even know about it.
yeah,
And, you know, I'm going, well, just hang tight, and wait and see, because I didn't know what, you know, I mean, kind of have an idea what's going on there, but I really don't have a clear picture as to what's happening there.
Just
So.
send them over to Dale.
it basically is xeriscape on
He was
the
doing that,
inside.
wasn't it?
And then it's just
Yeah.
grass with, they've talked about putting a border, a rock border.
Yeah,
Over
but I agree, I think there ought to be some trees on that west side, because the great vinyl wall of Elk Ridge
Yeah.
is
And
gonna be something.
even
else
if we
when
did
it's-
it every 100 feet up through there and
Just
put
something to
it,
break it up.
and put it over by where they're doing a rock border.
Well, the
Put
thing
it-
is, it'd be nice to have some shade on the trail anyways and stuff.
That is
you know.
exactly what I was saying. I
On
said,
the west side of the
The
trail.
west side will be, you will be baking there. That is where all that hot sun clear until it starts to go down will be. Even some trees, that's only about 25 feet. Even if you planted trees that were not in the grass area.
Right, because they're gonna have that buffer zone between the grass and the
Yeah.
fences.
But even if they're over on that 50-foot, we ought to probably talk to McKay about that, too, you know, while, and probably Olson, I do like the fact that he's allowing Olson to design it and landscape it, because he has done a nice job on the center, area, but, he's kind of, well, we'll build what you guys want built, you know, but
Yeah,
but that plan, I did give Olson a copy of that original plan.
right.
And it outlined, it had every plant and tree, the name of them, and what they were planning to put in there. And it had some curving, and it had different things that were part of that plan. It had a little bigger asphalt right at that end, you know, it was a little bigger asphalt piece. But I think down there would be a nice place to have a couple of picnic tables with trees all around it, that you, as a stopping place for a starting place for the
Yeah.
trail.
Well, yeah, and well, because we've got that big triangle with nothing else to do, it'd be,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think that it would
good.
give some personality to that. I really like his dry treatment through the roundabout. You know, that just adds a little personality to it. You know, you have something like that, you have the trail going through, and you landscape around that. That, you make a real attractive, there was 69 trees on the original plan. And so, and if we're only planting a few on the east side down through there, we've got a number of trees.
If there were
that-
69 trees, I want 69 trees.
Yeah, well, that's why.
Can I put it that way? Because I think that would make sense.
Yeah.
But
But,
otherwise, it will be
so-
more for vinyl.
so I guess maybe,
Like Salem and the Great Wall.
so maybe is it good to talk to, well, I think,
Well, and
the
I
mayor
guess I'm
has
gonna interject here, because as far as the Elk Ridge Drive has already been approved by council what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So that part, I agree with the signage down there, we can get the concept. The other part's been approved. You know, where the trees are, so it's already in motion.
we didn't,
The council approved it all.
we didn't approve, trees being one side or the other.
Yes, we did.
And we just said landscape.
No, it showed everything on there.
No, not any
The
of our
grass on
discussion.
on the west side and the xeriscape with the trees on the east side.
That is what was discussed,
That was
but that
what was
isn't in
approved.
the plan. The plan showed
That's
it
a picture
both
McKay came
sides.
and got your approval, and he said, this is what you want, and from there, let McKay make decisions.
Okay, well, we need to discuss though. I think we need to have some input. We have had a decision, if we're not gonna put in the lights, and that's 49,000, then the council approved that.
You can
You
change,
know,
and spend some of that money on the
on
additional
the,
trees or whatever.
on the parking lot or, for the other part. But there's nothing, if there isn't some input, you know, it isn't just let them do whatever they want to.
No,
do.
it's already been approved.
No,
There's a
So-
picture that was presented to the
Yeah,
council.
what we need to do here then, I believe, Dell, is if we've given McKay the ability to make the call, McKay needs the input from you.
Well,
And if you'll give him the input,
and Ty,
Is
I
there
think
going through
Ty
this-
has been making decisions though, hasn't he?
no.
You stuck to the plan that was approved by the
Yeah,
council.
so if we want to tweak it or adjust it, McKay is probably the one to talk to about that at this point.
Okay.
And if there is any room for that, then we'll make adjustments. If there isn't, then Dell, welcome to becoming our permanent Arbor Day specialist the rest of your natural life. Because you'll be planting trees down there for a long time.
Yeah, well, it'll be attractive, but,
Yeah.
yeah, we need
Okay.
to see what the plan is for that bottom end.
Yeah,
That I agree with.
yeah, the bottom end, I want to see like what I would
But-
see if I hired a contractor to come in and
But
landscape my yard
if it's
with a
not done yet
landslide.
either, and we wanna add in trees and there's not, now's the
That-
time to do
yeah.
it.
See, that's what I was telling, that's what I talked to Olson about, and he said, yeah, you know, they need somebody like you thinking about those, you know, where you have 0 trees on the west side. And what McKay told me is that the mayor said, we're gonna just put trees down the east side. To me, that was not part of the,
That's part of the
plan that was
yeah.
approved.
Yes, it is.
Is it? No trees on that, on the opposite side?
That's,
Well, I'd like to, I think we ought to revisit it then. And I think there ought to be at least a tree every 100 feet up that area. See, there was no gravel across, against the border that I remember in that discussion.
and I will agree with that.
And maybe in that, and what McKay is wanting to do, and I agree with that, he's wanting to keep that clean so that you can just mow that strip and not have to go around trees.
And that was all
Yeah.
purpose, just mow it down, mow it down.
Yep.
But if we shifted those to the outside, you know, over to where the rocks are gonna be, that's
It won't be
only
mowing
about
around.
20 feet.
Yeah.
And,
So I-
So can I just make a suggestion, where
Yeah.
it's not, the west side isn't landscaped at all, why don't you get with McKay and come up with a proposal of, an additional proposal of how you want it, and then we'll bring that back to
See
the council.
if
for
it can be
changes.
adjusted. If it can't,
yeah,
then, you know, then
Yeah,
maybe
that's-
we start talking to the property owners, because if I had a chance to put a shade tree that wasn't in my yard that could benefit my yard, I'd probably pay for it. If you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
I mean, if
I think-
we work something out where
It-
the residents.
What McKay was saying is that if later on we decide to put some little rest areas and stuff, we'll put some trees around those. But that's down the road, that's not part of this plan.
So that's what I'm saying, if we're doing the landscaping, let's just do it all at once.
And I
With the
think,
trees.
I think we
And
could
if we
keep
wanna
what
add
McKay
fences
wants.
later,
And, you know, all I'm proposing is just put some on the outside. And
Okay,
so I'll talk to McKay about it. You know.
all right. So now that we've effectively used up our time frame during the
My reason for putting this on the city council was actually a different issue.
Are you sure?
Well, then what I'm going to do, Shay, in light of what we have on our agenda for our regular meeting, we're going to just keep working on the work session at this point, if that makes sense. So I'm going to let you go ahead and make your presentation, and then we'll let Jared make his piece here with the general plan, and we can talk about that.
And then I'll
So,
start
so
late.
we've got,
Yeah.
we've got kind of an interesting issue that's starting to occur here up in the older section of town. We're starting to see some infill developments, people coming in. A lot of lots were split illegally, and now they're coming in and saying, well, we want to make this legal so we can build a house on the lot. And so we're starting to see some of this occur. And so my question tied to the trails, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples really quickly. And I just want to throw out a couple ideas and just get your input on how we want to address this right now. Because for these people, this is an immediate issue, and saying to them, well, we're updating the general plan right now, and we'll let you know a few months from now, doesn't work well. But at the same time, I don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we have somebody spend money on a trail that doesn't work with our overall plan. But there's a couple, you might, let's
You go
for a
right
second. So, we have, right here, we've got 3 parcels of land that were illegally split off.
Are we talking about east side or west side of Canyon View?
So this is west side of
West side,
Canyon.
okay.
Right, Turner's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
fine.
it's Turner's property. And so I guess they've gone through a divorce or something, and they're trying to reconcile all this. So there was 2 pieces that had been illegally split, but were big enough to be lots. And there was this strange other piece. And so what they're really trying to do is readjust boundaries and walk out of it with the two lots.
Is that in Alexander Canyon?
No.
No, it's
It's between
It's,
Salem Hills,
Lakeview.
It's
Lakeview,
Lakeview.
and west of Canyon
It's
View.
Lakeview.
Okay.
It's up the top, at the top end of Canyon.
So
Yeah, because there's actually the 2 lots there, and then there's one over in between the 2 houses that all were part of that initial thing, but it never got recorded. So it wasn't really an illegal split, it just never got
well, it's
fully recorded.
yes.
But they're selling it like it is.
Yeah. So
Trying to
so
sell.
anyway, they're
It's a
working
resident
through the
business.
process with us. We're gonna get that platted and get that straightened out. But of course, then the question becomes: we have shown here trail coming up that side of the street. Down below, we've basically just gone in and we've widened out the pavement a little bit. And so a couple questions here, I guess. Is that what we want to carry the rest of the way up Canyon View, is just widening out the pavement? And then the second question is, do we want them to put that little 200-foot or 150-foot long piece in now, widening it out right there on the corner, that ends up turning into a wider intersection for people driving on because it's not connected to any other piece of trail? Or I guess what I'm looking at is, realistically, I see this as 5 to 10 years down the road before the city gets to the point that they push this through. If I understand right, the priority is to come up to Salem Hills Drive and then push over to Elk Ridge Drive would be the next
loop.
the next push after that to make that loop. So we're really looking at 5 to 10 years later before we do that. So I wanted to throw that out, and then one possibility with the Montagues right here on the corner of Oak Ridge Drive and Hillside, we had a letter recorded with that plat that basically they said that they would complete the improvements on Salem Hills Drive at the point that was developed and pushed through. Do we want to use some sort of mechanism like that?
I was gonna say, when those lots are developed, I think we should use a mechanism like that requires them to do it. That would be my preference. I have a question though, are those lots, as they're gonna be recorded officially now, are they coming into compliance with the zoning there? Or are they still
Yes.
Yeah,
illegal?
They'll be in compliance
Yeah,
with the
So
zoning.
they'll still have the correct frontage and the correct.
Frontage, 20,000 square
acreage.
foot, yeah, correct acreage,
To
so.
give you a little backstory on it, the code was changed and the lot width was reduced for those lots and the lots where used to be, well, it's where the Chandy is and the Joneses live and the other, and the ones that are up on Oak Lane. It was reduced in that zone so that those lots could be infilled. So, yeah,
these
it'll meet our
But
current
I was gonna
code.
say it meets the current
particular
code.
lots will meet, they've
It
got to
was
have
done to address
120
that.
foot frontage
Okay,
on them. I've required that of them. And actually, they've got more frontage than that. So.
okay. Well, that's what, I mean, the lot just next to mine, I guess one over, they've illegally split too, and they've been trying to sell it forever, but there's not enough frontage. You can't build on it.
And that's another one that has just come
Well, we're
forward
gonna have
to
a
us.
And I'm walking
Yeah.
home from the bus and people are stopping and asking me about, hey, tell me about this, and I'm like, well, you can't build there, there's not enough frontage, and they're like, oh, and then they just leave, but I don't know how many people have come up, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
that wanna
'cause
build there to buy
there's
that
another
lot.
one where Canyon View kind of makes a little jog there, right there on that one too. They want to, and there's actually 2 lots there, but the
So
one
what
doesn't have
about-
enough width to do anything with it.
Yeah, well,
What
it's,
about having them put down the money of what it would cost. Instead of doing it now, they put down what it would cost, because you will not, you know as well as I do, you're trying to get people to do it later on, unless they're wanting to sell and you've got a lien on it or something. You know, that, we've got plenty of examples of that through the whole city, that
That's
it never gets done. Well,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, but,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't have
required to
any
put
money
it-
right now. I don't know when that will get done.
Yeah.
You know, I
So with that, can I play devil's advocate for a minute? And I'm not saying that I agree on this or anything, I just want to throw this out. So we have it, so we have these people, this one happens to be, they're trying to get 2 legal lots in there, so they're developing a couple lots. But then we have other people who come in that they've just got their single lot, they just want to build a house on it. And in that case, if they're in the approved subdivision and their lot's an approved subdivision lot, we don't require them to do anything. They can build their house because that's what was approved at the time that the subdivision was approved. But then if we have somebody who comes in that their lot, for whatever reason, was illegally split, so now they're having to create a plat for that, then they're falling under a code. And so they're being required to put a trail in front of their lot to be able to build their house on it. Everybody else up the street is basically getting the trail for free as the city gets money to pay.
Consequence
the
for doing
street.
illegal actions.
Well, no,
I totally
just-
understand what you're saying, you know what I mean? It might seem like it's unfair, but, I mean,
Yeah.
rules change and things change as you go. And if you're not recording it until now, and there's new rules in place, there's
Yeah.
new rules in
If
place.
that had been
I-
recorded at the time that the
I
split was done, there wasn't
Then it
even a
would-
trail in front of that lot
Yeah.
at that point. It wasn't part of our, we didn't have an approved trails map, so,
So,
you know, you
I don't know.
wait sometimes,
No, that's-
sometimes the worse your bad.
But
it's
yeah,
okay,
but
I'm just
Yeah.
throwing it
No,
out,
it's
like I
good
say.
though, to like think about like the other side and think
Yeah.
about that, so I appreciate that.
So on this, let me just go back to this particular one then. Would the city, I mean, the city, honestly, the simplest way when I look at it is to say, put it in. You're required to put it in right now. Then we have this extra pavement width there that we're maintaining that doesn't really get used other than people drive on it and park on it.
You know what, if we
But-
striped it though, and there's a bus stop right there, I mean, I think it would, because those roads are narrow, and in the winter, I mean,
They are.
it's like a 1-lane path up there. I mean, so even if that was like, you know what I mean, if we had it and we could snowplow that, so the kids actually had a place to walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think,
prefer that
I think
myself.
it may be a few years out, but
I think.
But we could also say, oh, there's a tiny strip right here, let's connect, let's, you know what I mean, spend some money and just
So,
make this connection for
are
another.
we only,
This is-
are we only
no, this is
addressing
with
the ones?
Well, I've got 2 I want to talk to you about, and the other situation's a little bit different, but if we can address this one first, then I'll move on to the other one.
So, but tied to that one, you've got those 2 lots, and then around the corner on Salem Hills, those 3 lots came in together as part of that initial lot split.
Yeah,
Are we addressing the issue with the one on Salem Hills Drive at all?
no, he's only dealing with. the
He's only
lots on his
dealing with
lot.
that, so that other one isn't a recorded lot then?
No, it's not, and the problem is from what I can tell, it never met code anyway. It didn't even meet the smaller frontage from what I can see. Now, well, so the only thing that I can see that those guys can do is take their corner lot that their house is on and
Make it
join that lot back into that, or sell it to their neighbors next door and have them join it in. There's just not a way to turn that the way, and it's kind of an odd shaped piece that they created. It's just not a way to turn that into a legal zoning lot at this point.
So we've
So-
talked about the ones on Canyon View, I think.
So one
I think we're
quick question with that,
comfortable they can do
how wide on that extra width that we've put in, how much extra pavement did we put in? What are we gonna-
9-foot pavement, 10-foot that we bladed out. You know,
Okay,
10-foot is
so-
what.
Right, but if they're putting in curbing, are they gonna put in curbing, or are we?
Well,
gonna-
they
Are we
can
not?
ask for the exemption because there's no curb up there. our code allows them to ask for an exemption. Now, you can,
Oh, I
as
know.
council, you can turn around and say, no, you still have to do it, but
Because, I mean, I'd just soon have curbing and have like what was approved over here on Elk Ridge Drive with the distance between the curb and the trail piece.
Yeah.
Because.
And an 8-foot trail and
So,
curbing.
my only question with that is if they do that, but then when you come through, afraid it totally died. But when you come through with the trail and you're just paving extra width along the side, so then we're gonna have to bump out to their lot to get to that piece of trail. And then when they get across the street, they're gonna go back to the same situation where it's just extra width along the side of the road.
Yeah.
Is that, if that
I don't
makes
know, I
sense?
mean, one of the concerns that I have is that area, every time we have a 100-year storm, about every 9 or 10 months, that area gets flooded. I mean, right now, when it rains hard, there is a crazy amount of water that comes down Canyon View. And it goes into that field right now, and we put more asphalt, we're gonna channel even more water back into that field. I mean, how are we gonna address that when they come and build houses? Now we're gonna be channeling all that water into somebody's house, because it will. I mean, you go up there when it's raining.
So we need to do
that's
something
one of our-
to address that, but
That's one of the areas
putting
we have
curb around there
problems.
will mean that
Well,
it
sure, it's gonna
catches it all
push it
and puts
down,
it
but
down
then
and
you
then
put a
floods the
something
neighbor out.
to catch it.
You know, another
At the
thing
end of
is
that.
that this is in an area that is adjoining an area that's going to be developed with curb and gutter and sumps and all of that. You know, you're on that side of the road and you are at kind of the end of development, isn't it?
You've got one block above
You
it,
got
but-
one more
One
block.
more block above it.
But
So,
I don't
you
know.
know, you start, you know, I think it's gonna have to be curb and gutter
Well.
and sumps and stuff when they develop on a,
The south side, there will be, so that's what I'm saying, if you put it in there and then you have one block where you add it to later when all the other development comes in.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it really is an area where when it rains, it gets really messy. You know,
Oh, my
like-
kids love it. It's like a river.
Because,
They go
because
out
you
and
have all
play.
the water coming off of the south end, off of the mountain, and it comes down and drops in, and it comes around, and the people that live in the next block over, they built big berms
Mhm.
to protect their houses, because every time it rained, their house was flooded, and it wasn't a little bit. I mean, it was, get in there with multiple shop vacs and windows. One of the houses, it actually blew the window out of the house. There was so much water pressure coming in on the driveway before that got addressed, so. I've spent a couple of Saturdays over there vacuuming water out of basements, so I know what its potential is.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, those are all points that need to be considered. And I would imagine McKay would probably echo that with the water issues and what that may or may not represent and how to best address it. But whatever best addresses the water, I think would probably be the solution that we would want to use to drive, whether they just take the road and put in more asphalt, or if we go road, curbing, space, asphalt.
Okay.
Okay?
No, that's great. And then since
I
my
was saying, then we had another
Now
guy.
you're-
This one, so, the elders have purchased a piece of land on the north side of this dirt road that's
Yeah.
supposed to be
Just
Salem Hills
east
Drive.
of Gunnarson's.
And,
the north side.
and so, the question that I have for you here is, as I look at the trail running through here, we have a couple interesting things happening. The section of Salem Hills through the old part of town,
Yeah,
it can go on either side, no problem.
yeah.
But as soon as you get to this corner, the house that's right on the corner on the north side, that land drops off right off the edge of the road.
Yeah.
And you've got, I guess, a stream or drainage that's right down there that drops way down.
Yeah.
If we require the trail to run off of the road on that north side, at some point, we're gonna basically have to build a huge retaining wall structure, drainage, fencing along it. And on top of that, their house is pretty close to that, and by the time we do that, we're gonna have this trail, 10, 15 feet from their house.
I think you put the width on the,
I think
width on the road
we
and
stripe it on the
double
road
stripe
and
it.
do it on
Okay,
the
and
south
that's
side
what I
of
was
the road.
that's what I was gonna say, because the rest of the way down here, when you get into this other part here, we have some similar
Well,
issues, not as extreme,
Yes,
but.
but on the south side here where these houses are, they're all set up so high,
Yeah.
most people don't park in the road. They pull up the driveway because
No.
it's closer to the house.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's a hike and a half.
Stripe it on the south side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because of that. I mean, there's,
Yeah,
I
I
think there's only
I think we'd do that,
two houses
do it
that
on the
are
south side and this
not
south.
significant, that are
And
lower.
that way when
would have a
they
less of an impact.
blade it out to get the width on the road, you
Because
got fill for that other side.
if you have it on the north side here, you've got a number of houses that were built on slopes that are almost like this, and they don't have a whole lot of front yard to begin with.
yeah. and
Because, I
there's-
mean, they're basically, they built those homes as close to the road as they could,
I was
because
gonna
they had to
say-
bring in less
I was gonna
fill.
say they're all there.
Or,
So
or
we have,
like
so the
Gunderson's with them
the
all.
road is already built wide enough to put the
Yeah.
trail in.
So we could,
Yeah.
we could
Stripe it.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah, we could probably put the striping in the road there.
Elders will get to deal with putting the curbing
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, they have to,
The
well,
other-
they've got to put the road in, and unfortunately, their property actually comes way over down into the drainage, even though they can't build in there, so they're building a large section of that road
Yeah.
as part of this, but, you know,
And then Montagues will complete their curb down that side.
well,
With Acmes.
they'll complete their piece there,
Yeah,
and then the gentleman that owns all this will
Yeah.
probably fill that in at some point. It
At
sounds
some
like
point.
he's probably gonna move on it before anything happens on the other side there. So strike the road, and do it that way, okay?
Yeah.
I'm great with that.
And I think when you have your meeting Thursday, indicate that on the map.
Yeah, we will.
That's
So
what
when it
we're-
goes to the planning commission, we're all on the same page.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, I had a quick question back to the Cruz property.
Yes.
Okay, I know that's in our annexation zone. Could they possibly annex into Salem? Do we have to approve that? Do we have to fight if they want to do it? What's
I don't know
the
how they would be able to.
Well,
circumstance? I mean, because
No,
here's what
it's
I don't want
it's a
is
trick to get it.
Elkridge won't give us what we want. So we're gonna go to Salem and build even
Well,
smaller
But
lots.
they,
Yeah,
they're- how would they
service,
connect
makes
to
it-
it?
It's the services.
Salem's on the other
Because
That's what
side.
I'm
they
saying.
would
They
have to
are-
go under the
annex to
canal.
Salem.
They have
On
to
the
go.
other side of the South Elm,
Well, that's what I thought,
that's
'cause-
Salem.
yeah,
No, I
that's,
know, but there's no way they could come all the way up and.
No, they can't
Well, that's
for, there's a couple reasons. We have an agreement with Salem where our boundaries will be.
yeah, but we had that on
But
the
the
east side of
other
the South Elm
stuff.
homes. and
We
that
did,
was supposed to be
we
ours.
did, but we let them take the more expensive route, and that was their call, but, getting the water and the other utilities there, it's kind of tricky.
Well, that's
I
what I
mean,
thought
really
it would
tricky.
be pretty
No,
tricky.
I think
I
at the
just
end
thought
of
we
the
should have
day,
this discussion,
no,
right?
I think at the end of the day, it'll probably be 30-acre lots, because they can do that within our code. So, but we'll see. I think right now there's some speculation going on there. But that doesn't matter, because our code is what it is.
Yeah, there's
And
two or
we're
three.
sticking to what our general plan said.
Right.
That's the important thing.
Right,
So,
okay, but that's why I just want to
Yes.
have that discussion to me.
okay. General plan intro and vision statement. That was kind of emailed out for us to look at, review. Does everybody have a chance to kind of take a look at it, go in and make comments where you want?
The original one, I haven't looked at the new one.
The new one? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have time between when we got the stuff.
Can you give us maybe some feedback from the planning commission side on that, Jared? I mean, I know myself and Brittany have been commenting and have gone through it.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got the Google Docs, basically, we've been pulling out a lot of just fluff, right? We want it real simple, we want something that coordinates with existing conditions, you know, update everything so it's all accurate, so that at the end of the day, it has some teeth. So we actually have a document we can go back to. I mean, right now we want a document, we have these developments come in, and it says, oh yeah, there's supposed to be a trail here, wait, you know, we're supposed to, you know, it talks about agricultural, and, you know, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not the direction the city's been going. And so we've been able to just pull some of that stuff out, update it, simplify. I mean, that's what we've been doing. There's actually some sections we're looking at, you know, pulling out because it's mentioned like 2 or 3 times throughout the general plan as it is, and we're thinking, why repeat it? So that's kind of the gist of what we've been doing. We've been looking at everybody's comments, you know, trying to implement that where we can. But, you know, at the end of the day, we knew it was going to come to you guys, and you guys, you know, probably tweak it a little bit. And just kind of keep it moving forward,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
because we're getting to the point where the introduction and some of these sections we've done, if you guys want to change it, it's going to affect the sections we're moving into. So we need to make some progress here so we know the direction we're going.
So I was gonna say, what sections do you need us to review and comment on?
I think we've done 2 or 3 sections now. I don't know what you guys have looked at. I think you talked about a little bit last council meeting. I wasn't here, but.
Sure. We've resent just the general intro in the vision statement because they just got
That should be
to the first
this
line
part here.
of
So how many
the
pages
style.
is that?
It was just this.
that, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
Because last time we just read the first line,
Right.
and that's,
okay.
it's
I
not
won't
that
even
bad.
name
Yeah.
And then, we're getting to the point where, you know, we're starting to talk about, I mean, the trails, we talked about it last time, and basically we decided, first off, we need to update it, get accurate information on what has been done, and then there'll be these little areas where we're trying to join, stripe the street, whatever, modify it to where it works, and you know, we'll discuss each of those little things, but.
Well, I think it would help, particularly on the trails, if we identify what side of the road. and
Yeah,
so forth.
exactly.
So
That's what we're-
that going forward,
We're
Exactly.
talking about,
I want a map that says existing, and that's dark green or something, and then I want
okay.
not there or proposed, and it's a dashed mark. And then there'll probably be some little, you know, like this section you just talking about coming off of Salem Hills where, okay, it's gonna be a dash, you know, stripe the street. You know, I know we'll have to connect that way, but, yeah.
okay.
But I mean, there's stuff in there. I
It'd
mean,
be easy
you know,
to
the old
mark what
code-
just needs striping, like the road's already wide
Yeah.
enough, we just need striping, right?
Yeah, and if there's stuff that's contradictory in the code, we pulled it out, you know, gone to the.
The other
Yeah, I think they
question
did
that I
a good
had kind of tied to this, we've got the PUD and the senior housing overlay, those are both overlay zones that get applied. You know, we've talked about this, you know, if we've already met our intention with that, in other words, we've met our quota, so to speak, with how much of that we want within our city based on a general plan, is there any reason to keep it in there? And I don't think that it needs to be in there anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
if we've authorized maximum number of senior housing units and exceeded that by almost double, I think we probably could take it out and same with the PUD piece. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to have something in our code that we're not going to approve down the road.
Yeah, we just need to put that on the next agenda item to discuss, so we can then vote on taking it out.
Yeah, so I guess I'm looking for a little progress
Yeah.
so that we have good direction, because we're getting to the point where if you guys change some of this early on stuff, it's gonna steer us.
I know where it is now, and I've been reading through the comments and the way that it's changed, at least for myself, I'm comfortable with where it's headed.
So I was gonna say, that's what, I mean, I was trying to follow with you guys on, you know, like you guys would send, hey, please review this section and make your comments. I just haven't seen that come through from the planning commission of what sections you want us to review.
Well,
so we
I
can-
don't care.
Something was sent out, I think, the first part of last week, because I was going through it and making some more comments.
So I didn't
Yeah,
see anything, but I saw that you had commented
I don't
on it. But I didn't see anything from Jared saying, hey, please comment on these sections.
I was just
Yeah,
commenting.
Jared Barden's been sending it out, but I don't know.
Yeah,
There's been,
Good.
there's been a couple of technical difficulties in that whole process too, so.
Yeah,
that may-
so,
Yeah, but, so
Okay,
that would
that's
just
why
be
I-
my recommendation, is whatever section you guys are gonna go over next, if you can just let us know, so then we have a chance to read through it, make our comments, and then you'll have our comments to take into consideration when you're reviewing that section and deciding what way
okay.
to go with it.
So
So
right
then we
now-
don't get to a spot where we're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think fundamentally, we're all pretty much on the same page, it's just different sets of eyes looking at something from a different perspective and going, maybe this doesn't need to be in here, maybe this ought to be clarified more. Maybe we ought to have a document that's 30 pages instead of 300, type of thing.
So right now, the planning commission is looking at the land use and specifically looking at the different uses and saying, which ones do we want to keep, which ones do we want to get rid of?
Okay.
So that would be helpful, realizing that, you know, the fluff in there will change, but just this
Right.
discussion about the PUD, now's probably a great time to pull the PUD if that's the case, because with this Elbridge Meadows Phase 10, at that point, we've approved everything that's in the PUD, and so we can pull that code without having a problem where we have to refer back to it. Senior housing, we may want to wait until their two final plats are recorded, and then at that point, we can pull it, but,
Which
you
may
know.
happen before this gets approved.
Well,
You're optimistic.
He's just being real, he's just being real.
Well, in the last time, it took a couple of years.
Yeah,
I mean, it really
this general plan is like, what, 5 or 6 years overdue,
Yeah.
you know, so, anyways.
Okay.
We appreciate your guys' work on
They're
it.
doing a lot of good.
Well, yeah, we're trying to just simplify it, and, you know, I mean, so somebody can look at it and know which direction they wanna go, so, you know, get somebody like that lower subdivision, they come in and wanna do something different, I mean, you're able to say, no, this is what we're doing, this is our general plan, and they're not trying to,
Chickens.
yeah, they're not shooting darts at all the, you know, where the inconsistencies and stuff, so.
But the page we sent you, that's pretty well been tweaked, and
Yeah.
this is kind of up to their final draft. Any comments or concerns there?
Yeah.
If you guys wanna add
Anything-
something, feel
You're not
free, I
seeing
mean.
No, I'm reading, I.
We could vote on it, everyone. Then you've got it,
It did,
well,
it was in this right here.
Yeah.
Well, it's in-
Approved in public.
I'll read through it, and if, I mean, I didn't have a chance to read through it, but if I do have comments, I'll let you know.
We just want to make sure we've got the vision statement nailed, because everything else in the general plan basically is to justify that vision statement, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, it does.
So-
Yeah, that's, and I've already gone in and given.
See, my only question is bedroom community.
We discussed this.
We discussed that last
Yeah,
time.
you were
missing.
here.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm like, we discussed that. It
Yeah.
still is a
We
better
are.
community.
Yeah.
They decided that.
That was all the further we got.
We did discuss that
We
quite a
did the
bit.
first line.
That's as far as
And
we
I heard
got.
dark sky was supposed to be all caps, bold, is that
Yes.
right?
See, and what you guys do here is gonna directly affect, I mean,
Oh, sure.
there's sections of the actual code that needs
So
to be
was
addressed.
your discussion that we're still a bedroom community even if we have commercial?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, yeah.
So get this nailed, and then I think the next move is to start running through the city code and finding the inconsistencies there and how it link, and so it's all
Okay.
less confusing.
Well, then what I would recommend then is, for those of you that maybe haven't, we need to go in, I know they sent it to our Elk Ridge City email addresses, go in, open up that document, go in and read it. If you want to give your 2 cents, go in and give it so that it's there
I
for the
just
planning
changed
commission.
something on this spelling.
Okay,
You're welcome.
we can make sure that
Those are easy to.
right.
Yeah.
Choose the spelled portion.
Yes, but no, we need to be involved there, because if we don't, then when we get to the finished product, I'm not gonna have
That's
a lot
what
of
they don't
patience
want us
to
to-
revisit it
Yeah.
at that point in time. I
Yeah.
mean, frankly,
Don't waste your
the
time.
amount of time we're spending and the planning commission spending, we get to the end, I don't wanna spend 3 months debating what is.
Are you talking to Brittany?
No, I'm talking to
Brittany?
you.
He's talking to you.
I've been making
Look at
comments
you.
on the plan, on the general plan.
No, we need to have the discussion now, so that when we get to the end,
And
We've
Jared
had-
put on one of my comments, rejected.
Jared
There's
Martin.
two
Jared
Jareds.
Martin.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Jared, yes, it was not you, it was Jared Martin.
That's
You
what
know-
we
No, but I have been going
did.
in and making
Okay.
comments.
Rejected.
all right.
It was funny.
Okay, well, I think we've addressed that. Anybody need a break before we go into our regular council meeting?
Let's do it.
Is it
Okay.
2 hours?
For the benefit of Brian, I think you're the only one that wasn't here earlier. If you want to make a comment, sign the sheet back there with Jan, if you're just here to observe. Thanks for coming.
Glad to see you again.
Laura.
Laura, sorry, I'm getting you confused with,
That was retro.
yeah. No, I was thinking of Jan Butler.
Oh.
Got mine, the things are scrambled today here, so,
It's Laura, that's Shay's mother.
okay.
He's the only one in Elbridge who doesn't know Shay.
Yeah.
Not that Shay.
She
More
got a
than one
daughter
Shay.
named, she got a daughter named Shay.
Okay. Because that's only the second Shay I've ever known. Yeah. So, okay, I'll entertain a motion to enter into our regular council meeting then.
I'll make a motion to start our council meeting of May 23rd, 2017 at 7:28 PM.
I second
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll do a roll call vote now.
Dale Bigler.
Brittany Thompson.
Nelson Abbott
Tricia Thomas.
Paul Crook.
and Ty Ellis absent. Okay. So opening remarks, I didn't ask anybody to do it. Anybody in here inclined to offer some opening remarks? Okay, thanks, Joe.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity we have to come and meet together and help improve the area that we live in. Please bless us and watch over us and be mindful of those in need. And I say these things in your Jesus Christ's name.
Okay, I'll go ahead and leave some pledge.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public forum. Do we have anybody that signed up, Royce?
No.
No? Okay. Normally, we'll take some public input. I'm going to turn the time over to Tricia briefly so she can take care of the city celebration business that she brought with her tonight.
Oh, it's just Tori's list.
Yes, but we need to get them out and,
Did Tori come last time? And
yes.
Brittany wasn't here?
Brittany
Okay.
wasn't here, so.
So what we decided was, everybody is in charge of filling 4 slots for the things. Does that make sense? So I'll give you a piece of paper and then it tells you which 4 you're in charge of. And in each slot, there's 3 times, so 9:45 to 11:15, 11:15 to 12:30, 12:30 to 2. And just get people to sign up in your ward or your friends or whoever you want to. It says on here that it does, anyone who's just as an FYI, this could meet a requirement of Grin and Bear for the Bear Scout troops too. So you can take it to them because that will, so here's Brittany and Dale's. And then once you get them filled out, if you'll give them to me, then I have some people over the things and they will call or text or email or whatever, everybody that's signed up to remind them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
So
Well.
that's that.
But for, it's,
Yeah, so the
It's
section with your name on it,
3 times?
Dale. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
I
3
see.
So
slots.
yeah,
Okay.
12, you need
I
12
see,
people to
okay.
sign up. Or if you
Yeah,
have one person
okay.
that wants to do it the whole time, that's great too.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay.
And then this way they'll know what they're
Okay,
specifically
good.
over. Well, he's gonna get his. I think we're gonna send home
I
Cindy.
think he's gonna be gone. No, I think he's gone.
Is he gone during the city celebration?
He'll be gone Saturday.
Well, he can still get
Oh,
one. So, okay.
We have to be in Salt Lake
With that, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Actually, one thing that I'd like to just bring up on,
Okay.
while Shay's here, we discussed before that part of the new developments that are brought in, that we would have the developers stripe the streets there, and I'm wondering what Shay's thinking is on that, and what we, if that's something that other cities do. We don't have much striping in this city. All the main roads, even we get one main road that we had the county stripe for us before, but
Maybe crosswalks.
yeah, crosswalks and a center stripe. But what's your thinking on that, Chief?
So it's really up to the community how far they want to go with it. I don't know of any smaller community that stripes local roads. I mean, as far as your main, your arterials and maybe some of your collectors, they'll stripe those. But as far as just the local roads inside a subdivision, There's not very many smaller communities that do. And part of the reason for that is just, it's that budget issue. And it sounds, you know, you look at it and you go, well, you know, I'm paying 12 to 15 cents, I think it is, for a foot for a 6-inch wide stripe. It doesn't sound like much when you look at it on that end, but after you get several thousand feet of striping in there, it can be a fairly decent sized budget item every year. But you know, if we're going in and we're striping these trails, and it's really interesting because the federal government's kind of turned the trail thing over to AASHTO, and AASHTO is an association that has engineers involved, they have lawyers involved, they cover the gamut of professionals that basically their whole purpose is to come up with the best design for roads, and the federal government kind of turned this whole trails thing over to them. And all these years they've been talking about separated trails, and come this last year, all of a sudden they're saying, you know what, we like the idea of trails on the roads, and we want narrower drive lanes. And the whole reason this has come up is because of all these people who are into biking, that, you know, the real bikers travel the same speed as the cars, and they're more dangerous on a small trail on the side. You know, the chances of hitting somebody and doing harm is greater there than it is if they're out in the road and they can weave out if they have to, and that type of thing. So I guess, you know, striping the trails and that, I mean, that's just going to be a maintenance cost that you accept. But as far as center stripes down the road, and then crosswalks, yeah, there again, a crosswalk can be fairly expensive. In fact, those cost even more because it's all handwork.
Okay.
But Dale, is your concern of just having, if the developers are developing an area with a trail or a crosswalk, to have them put that in when they develop it, put the striping in for the trail and the striping in for the crosswalk?
Well, I think what you're, like out here on Elk Ridge Drive, you got that piece that goes along the golf course, and they're gonna come in and they're gonna redo that, and they're gonna take the stripes that are there, they're gonna be gone when they get done.
Well, and
Punch
they're
all their holes.
restriping that.
As long as that's restriped, I think that's kind of one of the concerns.
And then when they create new areas that have a major road, it's just like our major collector that goes down past the steakhouse and stuff. Be nice, you know, that's when it ought to be striped initially, I think. Maybe we just do it on the major collectors and crosswalks when the school goes in. There's a lot, that all needs striped.
When the school goes in, I mean, we've got quite a bit of striping down there now, but when the school goes in, that whole area is gonna turn into a menagerie, so.
When that happens, I'm sure I won't be around.
So
You'll still be here, but I don't plan on being around.
what would be
involved in the process.
necessary to do that? What do we need to do to shift
We
that?
just need to make sure that when it's done, but,
I mean,
because like,
right now it's not required, is it?
Well, it's not listed in the code under the improvements, so we can certainly put it
So we
under
would
there.
add it
So-
in the.
But we have,
for striping.
here again, we have been requiring it on the major roads,
Have you?
as far as.
well, and I've noticed Neville School District's kind of gone to this trend where they don't want you making left-hand turns. They keep taking out the left-hand turn lanes. They did it at the high school, they've done it at a couple of schools when you're coming out of the parking lots. So you can only make a right-hand turn, so.
Nobody pays attention to that, so.
Oh, I know, but.
You know,
The other high school, because they.
But no, so
fill
I
the-
think that'd be good to add it to our
You're about the only
requirements,
one.
if they have a trail that's attached to it, or on the
That they
major
stripe,
roads that they're
that
required
we
to
double
stripe.
stripe it. I think we need to double stripe our trails too if we're putting it on the road. That has been a
I totally
suggestion.
agree with you. If you narrow the other lanes up and get a couple feet of buffer even, or
Yeah.
at least a
Yeah.
foot.
Well, then I think
So
people
can we,
recognize it's something.
can you
other-
work on getting that
Right.
added then? Okay.
Yeah, we'll address that.
And the other thing, Nelson, we discussed it last week, and you weren't here, but we discussed where the new four building lots are going in just south of the church. And, you know, those will have curb and gutter and sidewalk through there. And we had decided, I think, that we would put in we'd talk to Dean, get the price, or I think McKay was gonna talk to him and see what it costs to put in the curb, and we would put a lien on the property there. I had talked to the owner, and he didn't want to pay for it. He said, I probably can't stop you from the lien. But the other thing that we
Just to
didn't,
finish off that,
yeah,
right there.
that we
I
didn't
think that's wrong.
discuss and didn't make any decision on, that I think, you know, it is probably an exception rather than the rule anywhere else in the city, is the sidewalk. We're saying we've never put in an improvement district with sidewalks anywhere in the city. But there, I think the ADA for disabilities, I think you've got some exposure there. If you have the subdivision coming down and then they have to divert into the street for one house even. I think, we were kicking that around, I think that the sidewalk needs to be put in, however we pay for it.
But that's unfair to that homeowner, because when he built his house, it wasn't required to do that, because we changed
That's
the
what I'm
rules.
saying. I
If we
think the
changed the
city,
rules, what gives us the right to put a lien on his property? Because we changed the rules on him.
well, the gutter
Is
was,
that what we done
the
with
gutter's
everyone
fine,
else?
but,
Right?
I mean,
Well, that's what
But
Dale's
the-
saying, the city would have to pay for this.
yeah, I'm saying the city,
But he just talked about putting a lien on the guy's property.
Well, for
well,
the curb and gutter.
on the curb and gutter, they've done that all over, that's what Nelson said.
Yeah.
The other three
Yeah, that's
areas
what it's
in
been.
town,
You can't
where
stop
you've
doing
done a
that.
complete street,
Yeah,
You know-
but if you're changing I don't see where that's even fair to the people, because they were there before you decided to put the curb and gutter in. Now you're gonna put a lien because you guys think curb and gutter needs to be put in? That's not right.
No. And I think that we ought to look at a special improvement district, frankly, to address that issue. You know, we're not making a decision on it tonight. I think that brings up a point that we haven't discussed that we ought to be thinking about. Well,
That's
that's
that,
future discussion. That's a sidewalk piece. I mean, right now, most of that's paved anyways, because he's got his driveways in two sections. You know, maybe it's just,
but to
Done
not
with
connect
asphalt.
that would be folly in my opinion. And, you know, there was an item on the news, one of the news stories 2 weeks ago. It was a guy and his mother that were filing suits on all of these businesses. They had filed suits on 110 businesses, and they were making the settlements. Part of the settlement requirement is that you cannot disclose how much that you've paid to settle this claim. But they were things just like the signing was not
it wasn't up 60
as
inches.
per the ADA requirements. And I thought, if there's any place that would be subject to something like that, it would be, especially just heading to a church, you know, in and out of a church and stuff.
Somebody can do that with you not putting streetlights in too, because you're not making it safe.
The reality of it is, at this
Yeah.
stage of the game,
Yeah.
we're not required to have sidewalks through the entire town by the federal
Yeah.
government. When that day comes, then that'll be an issue. Until that point in time, it won't be.
But where you've got sidewalk clear down there, and then you have a strip between that and the church. What do you think?
You know, then that property owner
ADA.
has a potential for a liability lawsuit when somebody gets hurt.
It's not his property. He said that's the city's property.
Well, it's,
It is city's
but
right
from a
away.
practical insurance application of it, if somebody was walking on that right of way and they sprained their ankle, they'd sue him and they'd sue the city.
Not unless he created the.
Well, and he'd be creating it by not addressing it.
No, I don't agree on that, but
But
I think we need to make that decision when they're putting in that subdivision.
Well, I think it's a separate decision and should not affect Dean's development one bit, because that's
I agree.
an
I agree.
entirely separate issue.
I
City
want to
ought to
ask
do
a
something.
couple questions real quick. How
Um,
we doing on that signage down at the roundabout for
Already
the,
in.
for the no parking?
It
No
is?
parking?
It is?
Oh, I thought, okay.
I drive that every day, I haven't seen it.
I didn't notice it.
Okay?
Neither have I.
I thought I noticed it.
You
What
parked
about
it.
Try and park there, Deputy Rolls will let you
What
know.
about the new lawnmower? Is it showing
They're
up yet?
bringing it tomorrow.
Tomorrow? 2 weeks is a long time.
I have a question about something from, I don't know if this is where I would ask.
Well,
So Dallin wants to get those flags, order them for the city. And and they're like, from China, like $17 a piece, does he want the city to buy them? And then we try to, like, I don't know what the plan is with that,
I
and
think
how
you'd
would
wanna
that
do
work?
pre-order. And then get a time period, then we'll say, we'll do an order as of this date, so if you wanna pre-order and see if we have
Then
enough
you do
to.
it there, okay.
Why couldn't we find it on-
I wouldn't front it.
Yeah, I wouldn't front it either. I don't think the city
Well,
should.
the American-made flags are like $90 a piece, and the China ones are 17. So,
So you want.
you tell me which one you're gonna pay for.
$90.
17.
So you take jobs away from America.
I do. Anyone else
If
wanna
they're
pay
not
$90? Anyone? Any
Mine was
takers?
70s,
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to close our meeting.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.
I said-